Good evening or afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, or even morning, depending on what part of the globe that we find you in this fine Friday. Well, Friday for me, Thursday for most people. Um, a stream that's a little bit of a touchy subject, I suppose, but something that's, I guess, a bit of a zeitgeist topic at the moment, so it should be quite interesting. I'm joined by Ivana. Hello.
Hello.
And hi, beautiful disaster. We're going to be talking about gender fluidity. Should gender be a choice or not? Obviously, this is a very a subject we're going to have to try and approach with kid gloves because I don't want to upset anyone. I think different people have different views on this sort of thing. And personally, I have no issue with someone transitioning. From male to female if they feel that that's what they should be. But I think we've got to a point perhaps where things have got a little bit silly with people sort of going back and forth and people being referred to as like they and them rather than being a boy or a girl. Now, I'm not particularly well versed in this subject or have much knowledge on it, so I may make a few faux pas as we discuss this. How do you feel about the subject of gender fluidity, Ivana?
Okay, so I actually have one of my best friends who I grew up with, like my whole childhood. She was a best friend. She was totally straight, I want to say. She had many boyfriends and was, I would call her a slut in high school. Like
Right.
she she was with a lot of men, but like now she calls I don't know, she's a lesbian. So
Well,
that's the thing.
that's just a sexual preference, though, isn't it?
No, but no, but the person that she's seeing is identifying as a they.
So,
So there's no gender assigned to this person. Like before I met this person, I went to hang out with my best friend Jackie. She said, "Okay, so I'm seeing this person, but she doesn't have a gender identity. So you have to refer to her as they." And
so
I'm like, "Okay,
when she goes to the bathroom, or sorry, when they go to the bathroom, which bathroom do they use?
that's the thing. I'm not sure." So actually, in Canada, they started to make like these new signs on bathroom stalls. Like at least in the university that I went to, they would have these new signs for
Right.
like a gender fluid thing. So now I think that like people are getting used to gender like fluid identities, but I'm not sure. Like it's kind of weird like me trying to talk to someone one on one and being like, I don't know if I should identify this person as a she or a he. Like, how do I do it? Like, it's a they? Like, I have to say, hi, they. How are you?
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't say hi, she or he. You could just use their name.
Yeah, but like, okay, so if I'm introducing this person to someone else, so say, hi, this is or like I guess Dylan, he or she, works in this industry or whatever, but like you can't use that. So you say they work in this industry, but it's not a they, like because
Hmm.
they is plural for me. They is like a plural. It's like I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. So,
Well,
but that's what they want to be identified as is they because
um,
it's he or a she.
I mean, I hope I'm not going to upset anyone by saying this as well. And obviously, maybe I'm not very I don't stand very firmly with behind what I'm saying because I'm quite worried about upsetting people, especially in the world that we live in now. And you're always kind of walking on eggshells, especially when talking about a subject such as this. But
Well,
wouldn't
yeah,
it?
I don't want to I don't want to like upset people either, but I'm just trying to understand that that lifestyle. That's all.
I mean, personally, I would say let's. I don't think that we need a third bathroom for people that are in between or undecided. I,
Well, yeah, I don't think so either. That just complicates things.
I would say it comes down to with well being fairly graphic about it, but the genitalia that you own at that time. So even if you,
Like if you have a dick,
then you
you
should be
go.
using the men's bathroom.
If you have a vagina, you go to the girls' bathroom. That's just how it is. You're born that way. Just accept it.
Well,
But if you were to get like a some kind of surgical, you know, um, I don't know, if you change your genitalia, if you go and get a vagina or if you go and get a dick, however that works,
mm,
then you can go use those bathrooms. But if you're, whatever you have, just go to the assigned bathroom that you have. I don't know.
I do think to an extent it is sort of political correctness gone mad if we now have to have like mid-gender bathrooms. And I don't know if you're familiar with Louis Theroux, who is one of my favorite my favorite documentary maker by far. But he made a documentary a couple of years ago called Transgender Kids, and it kind of featured a lot of children who were born, let's say, as a male, but they always felt like they should be female. Um, and the face you're making right now is really off-putting, by the way.
No, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chat.
Okay. Oh, of
My
course, your
eyes, like
eyes. Yeah.
I have really, really, really bad contacts. I have to get new contacts.
But
So I'm squinting, trying to read the chat, saying and seeing people saying hi, hi, hi. But yeah. Anyways,
yeah, but yeah, he made a documentary a few years ago or a couple of years ago called Transgender Kids, and I completely understand. Like, if you're born as say a male, but you feel like you should be female and you want to transition to that, then that's I have no problem with that. But I do, on the other hand, feel that like some of the people even in that documentary, kind of the parents were almost pushing their children into switching genders. And you think maybe, well, even let's say 50 years ago, that it would have been crazy to think that you can choose this. Now, progression's a great thing. Like the fact that any sexuality can be accepted is fantastic. But is it is the world going too far? Now we're saying you can choose whether you want to be a man or a woman. Let's take someone like
yes,
Chris
no, I want to. Yes, it is going too far.
for
You,
example.
you can't choose. You can't choose if you're a man or a woman. You're born one way or another. And in my opinion, I don't care if I sound like a dickhead, but if you're born a man or a woman and then you have some type of thoughts thinking, no, I should be a woman, like maybe that's like a mental disorder that you have. I'm not sure. I don't mean to be like an asshole, but
No, but
I
take for
was
example
born a
someone
woman.
like Chris Chan, who I think is only. I'm not sure if he's even going like fully transitioning or anything. Um, and I personally, I think Chris Chan just got so upset with being, as he put it himself, a virgin with rage that he thought, well, I'm going to have more luck by switching over to the other gender.
Well, that's what I think too. Is like sometimes if you're so upset with who you are, if if you're a woman and you're angry with your gender, you can't find someone that you want to be with, like compatible with, and you might get angry and your mental capacity makes you think, maybe I should be a man, I'm going to switch over, or vice versa, like Chris Chan, you know,
Mm.
I'm a man, I can't get another woman, so I'm going to turn into a woman because, I don't have the mental capacity to be with another woman. I don't know, maybe he's just switching over to be a man. I'm not sure. But it's just like
No, well, it's
people,
switching over to be from a man to a woman. But Chris
I'm not
Chan made
sure.
many, many videos complaining about how he could never get with a woman and that he was a virgin for a very, very long time. Now, whether that's a smart move on his part and he's taking advantage of the current landscape is, well, anyone's guess, I suppose.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I don't know. Like, it really depends on people's
I,
perspectives, I guess.
And just to address Ali's comment, I don't think it's bigoted. As I kind of prefaced this chat at the beginning, it's not a subject that we're familiar with. It's just something we're discussing. If you're born, this is my own personal opinion, and I don't think it's bigoted to hold an opinion. It might be an uninformed opinion, and I'll accept that. But I don't think it's right to throw a word as strong as bigot around at people. However, if you're born a man and you feel like you should be a woman, then I have no issue with that. With if you've been, especially like I said, and I would urge everyone to go and watch that Louis Theroux documentary, the transgender kids documentary, if that's how you feel and you change. However, I think there's an argument to say it's getting crazy now, where people are changing and switching back and forth, like because the technology is there. Is it correct to use it? There was a story I read a while ago. I think it was a man that changed to a woman and then he became a woman and decided he didn't want to be and then had to change back. And not only is that um, like using up valuable doctors' times and resources, but it's
Well,
also like
okay. I think, for one, like, entering a bathroom, if you really want to go into a men's bathroom, then go ahead. That's fine. If you really want to go into a woman's bathroom, then go ahead. But the bigger issue is like how you identify yourself when you're born with genitalia. It has nothing to do with bathrooms.
Billaraka has just said something. Bill Mayer said it best. If you look like a man, go to the men's room. If you look like a woman, use the women's room.
No,
If
honestly,
you're
no. Go wherever the fuck you want to go.
wait,
If you
wait,
want to go in
I
the
haven't
fucking
finished the
room, then
quote.
go into a fucking men's room.
I haven't finished the quote. Bloody hell! Right.
Yeah, go.
If you're a man that looks like a man and you're dressed as a woman, wait till you get home. Um, No, I don't. Again, it's not something I've particularly. I don't really know. In my real life, I don't really know any people transgender, so it would be interesting to actually speak on the subject and get someone that has the knowledge about it. Again, at the same time, when you're trying to discuss a topic that you have really no personal experience of course, mistakes are going to be made, and perhaps things may sound unsympathetic. But and as my opinion, I think, and it's just how I feel. But yeah, if you've always felt that you should have been the other gender, then of course you're um, you should be allowed to change. But it shouldn't just be like, oh, do you know what? I'm tired of being a man. I'm going to become a woman. Which I do think and I know I bring him up a lot, but in the case of Chris Chan, I kind of think that's how it was. But I mean, that guy's living in a different dimension. I believe the dimensional merge is going to happen quite soon, and we're all going to become part of Quickville, and he will be the mayor of the world. So, um, yeah. It, so I suppose the most information I have on anyone in that position is from probably one of the most deluded people that I know, the second most deluded person that I'm aware of. And of course, we're not trying to cause offence here. It's obviously a very difficult subject to discuss. Um,
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Well,
No,
Bellaric, I mean, the thing is, guys, well, if Anna was desperate to do a stream because she just loved spending time with me and wanted to do something publicly, and so if you have any other subjects that we might know a bit more about that you'd like us to discuss, do feel free to put it in the
yeah,
chat because
sure.
I,
Literally anything, like any kind of discussion that you guys want to talk about, give us
yeah, yeah. If
suggestions. We're just gonna keep talking
I'm going
about
to change
things
the title
we
and
know
other
more about.
topics because I kind of feel like we might be trying to discuss something that neither of us are certainly experts upon. Uh,
We're no, we're definitely not experts on, transgenderism and stuff, but I do like I said, like I have a best friend who is um, involved with someone who identifies itself as gender fluid. That's what I'm
hmm.
saying, itself, because there is no gender.
What
So it's like, which kind of bathroom would you go into? And it's just like, if you're born with a dick, then go into the guy's bathroom. If you're born in
So if you
with a
have
vagina,
a dick, not
go in the
necessarily
girl.
if you're born, but if you have a dick, I would say.
I don't
But
know. I'm just like I'm just born into a family that I was never like educated with gender fluidism and stuff and whatever. Like if you're born with a dick, that means you're a guy. If you're born with a vagina, that means you're a girl. Like that's all I've known.
two of my kind of favorite musical artists at the moment. I mean, one of them is not very famous at all. He's a person called Tune Network. Now, I love a bit of ska music, but he identifies as they or them. But if you see his videos, like you on sight, you would assume he's a man. Now, this might sound a bit odd, but wouldn't you, like, let's say that he chose to use the woman's bathroom because he doesn't identify as either gender? Wouldn't you, if you came out of the bathroom, Ivana, and saw him there, wouldn't you be a bit shocked?
Well, yeah, if it's like strictly a woman's bathroom, then I would be like, "What are you doing in here?" And he'd be like, "Well, I identify as a woman." I would kind of feel like maybe he's just saying that.
To get into the ladies' bathroom? Well,
Yeah, like, are you just saying that just to like kind of bang one of us? Like, I don't know. Like, what the fuck are you doing in
yeah.
here?
And Beautiful Disasters made a very good point. Like, who's going to go up to someone coming out of a bathroom and say, pull it out, let's see what you have? Well, Andy's not here this evening, but he's the kind of guy that might stand outside a bathroom doing that. Sorry, I always make fun of him when he's not here to defend himself. I shouldn't do that so much. But yeah, no, like, and also there's a group I really like called Steam Powered Giraffe, and there's someone in it called Bunny who is transitioning at the moment, and she's, but yeah, I can call her a she because she used to be a he, but is becoming a she. That's fine. Like that's identified for me. Um, I guess the most confusing thing for me is kind of the people in the middle. I don't really understand how you can say I don't want to be either gender, and it's where that kind of meme came from, wasn't it? Like I identify as an attack helicopter, which people always use all the time now because you can just say anything and people have to accept it. And like we're living in a world where no one can say their opinions anymore, and if you do, like you'd be ready to be berated by the system. We live in a world that has cultures such as extreme feminists and incels. Like, there's people out there that are so sort of detached from the world itself that they think that the world owes them a virginal girlfriend or that all men are the root of all evil. Uh, and I think, and maybe I'm
Or
going off topic here a bit,
or all women are the root of all evil, not just men.
but I don't think there's really an equivalent of like extreme feminism with men as there is. I mean, the incels is probably the closest thing we
I
have to
don't know.
that, but
Well, I don't think so. I think these days that women might be more evil than men.
well, what's it? There's nothing, no bigger danger than a woman scorned or something. I probably
I think that
misquoted that.
I think that it's changing. I think it's changing.
Yeah, well, no, but I think the thing that upsets me about like extreme feminism is like I consider myself a feminist. Equal rights for women is important for everyone. Equal rights. I can't say the word properly. Equal
Equal white.
rights. Okay.
Are you racist? Equal white?
Shut up.
Come on,
I've just got a
man.
speech impediment.
You're
Um,
okay.
well, Hal's just messaged me. I didn't actually know that Hal was in that community, but he said he could come on and join us and maybe give us a bit more of an insight into what we're discussing. So should we invite Hal on?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. Right.
Maybe he can give me some more insight because maybe I'm not educated enough when it comes to these
Yeah.
topics. Yeah, sure.
Uh, right. Hold on, Hal. I'm going to call you now.
Hi, Terry. I love Terry.
Yeah. Everyone loves Terry.
Terry's the bomb.
Okay, Hal. You're bi, but I don't know how you're going to help explain gender fluidity to us. But why not join us anyway? Um, All men, exactly, Miss Rebel Jewel. All men who love women should be a feminist. I consider myself to be a feminist, but I think what feminism is has.
Hello?
I how what feminism is has kind of changed because of what people have taken it to be. So yeah, I'd like to welcome Hal here. How you doing? How are you doing?
Wait, I have one question. One question. Am
Yeah,
I
I'm
on
good.
camera?
Sorry,
Am I on
Just,
camera?
just,
you are, yeah.
just a
I
second, the
am.
internet's playing up. So if you
Sorry,
two carry on talking, I'll.
sorry, Hal. What were you saying?
You two carry on talking,
I can't
I'll
really
try and
hear
something else
you.
picks up.
Could you move a bit closer to the microphone?
Hello?
That's
Can you hear
better.
me?
Yeah, that's much better.
Sorry,
So,
I'm on my phone at the moment, so.
I see. What did you say? You're outside?
No, I'm on my phone.
Ah, right. So, as part of the LGBTQ community, how do you feel about gender fluidity? Do you think it should be a choice?
But, hang on. Okay, I'm here.
Yeah.
Sorry. What's going on? Help. Technology.
Right.
Uh, sorry, can you repeat that?
Do you think gender is a choice?
Um, well, I believe that,
Do you think gender? Oh, turn the sound off on the stream, Hal.
oops, sorry. There, it, I should be. Is my technology good
Yeah,
or
yeah, you're fine now. You're fine.
okay?
It's just I
Okay,
was
good.
getting an echo.
Sorry. Um. Well, you've already mentioned, I personally think that you know you can transition between guy being a guy and a girl, or vice versa.
Right.
But I think that especially if you're, say, a teenager,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of the time you're still not quite sure about whether you're gay or whether you're um, you know
Straight.
actually the opposite gender.
Well, I guess this kind of segues quite nicely into another topic because one of my friends was telling me they're now teaching about sort of homosexuality and things like that in primary school, which could be both positive personally, and again, this is only my opinion, so don't shoot me down in the chat, guys, for stating an opinion. But personally, I think like your sexual preferences are formed throughout your life, and or throughout your early life, and it's a difficult thing because if we're now teaching like 6, 7-year-olds about it and they go, oh, that sounds cool. And then they start having experiences at a young age with people of the same sex or the opposite sex, depending on what they then turn out to be. Um, it could possibly, because I mean, it's about parents really teaching kids properly and the kids and the parents taking responsibility. But it might be that you go, okay, I'm not straight or I'm not gay later on, but you make a lot of bad decisions early on. And perhaps sort of teaching kids too early might make it look like it's something that's just like cool and fun. And then you might look back and be like, damn, I wish I hadn't sucked that dude's dick when I was 11. Not that I did that. I'm not just speaking from personal experience. um, but do you get what I'm saying, guys?
I guess so, but
I mean, I've only, recently started coming out, so, but, sometimes I wish I did have that education as a, at school, because then I, didn't really know anyone, or
Yeah.
I didn't know that, I was bi until I got to uni.
Right. How did you know that you were bi? Did you have attraction towards men before that or not? Sorry, I'm just curious now. I'm just gonna
I mean, I
question you.
had attractions to men, but I didn't know until I got to uni, when I started to, meet, you know, other people who, bi or gay.
Yeah.
so I have a question. I have a question
Yeah.
for you. So what do you think? What do you think? Like, okay, so I'm just gonna say, people like me. I grew up with a family who we don't really agree with, like transgender. Like, if you're born a certain way, then you should stay that way. Like, what is your opinion on people who have that mindset? Like, who are not so open minded. Like, I feel like I could be more open minded, but I was grown up that way, Um, I my cousin is gay, but she's a lesbian. She's gonna marry a girl. I love her. Like, I have no problem. But I find I have this opinion about people who are transgender and change their sex, because it makes me feel weird. Like, you were born a woman or a man. How can you change your sexual orientation? Like, how is that possible?
Well, I kind of guess that sexual orientation and gender are two
Gender,
slightly different things.
Yeah.
Gender orientation, I would say. So, like, I have no problem with people being, lesbian or gay or whatever. Like, I have no problem with that. But, like, transgender, like, being gender fluid, or
I mean, I'll be totally honest, I don't really understand how someone can be gender fluid.
Mm.
I, personally speaking, I think you can be either a guy or a girl.
yeah,
It is. I do think it's genuinely possible to change from one to the other.
yeah.
That's kind of the point I was trying to make before. I think, let's say you're born a man, but with mostly feminine traits or I'm trying to find the right word here, or characteristics, and you feel like you should have been a woman, then they should.
Then how do you change over to that?
I mean, I personally think, there needs to be, quite a lot of therapy. Now, I know that, I might get a bit of shit for that, but what I mean is, I think, you should go to therapy, you should talk to a professional just to try and figure out, okay, am I actually a man but born as a woman, or am I just a lesbian who's attracted to other women?
Yeah,
Well, I
that's
think
right.
we're getting dangerously close here to again kind of confusing sexuality with gender changing here, and I think they're two very different things. I think um, I mean, of course, sexuality can be fluid. You might at 50 you might decide you're a gay man or a lesbian or something. I think it's a lot easier than that. Whereas I think when we're talking about fluidity in gender, it's probably something that you would know when you're very young, rather than as you get older. And I think if you live your life as a man until 40, I
So if you take Bruce Jenner as an example,
I
he
don't I don't
he's
really know
in
much
his
about him.
60s. He was in
It's
his 60s, and then he turned into a woman.
Well, I don't like to invite kind of sort of hate or anything to myself or into my chat, or not hate.
No,
I mean
it's not
towards me,
hate.
but I would have thought
It's
like,
hate. It's just an example.
but
Like,
let's say because the ability to change is only because something that's happened in modern times. So perhaps he had always felt that way, but the option was never there previously. Um,
what if the option was never there? What would he have done?
Well, he would have just had to carry on. I mean, what would have people have done 100 years ago? They wouldn't have. They didn't have a choice, did they? Like 100 years ago, um,
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
they wouldn't. But now we do. Now we do have a choice, and there are cases in point.
I don't
Um,
think that there should be a choice. I don't know. I don't think that, and this is just my opinion. People can hate me for this, but I don't think that there should be a choice between gender. This is just how you're born.
uh, yeah.
I mean, I,
Oh, sorry, Hal. Go on.
so um, you mentioned Bruce Jenner earlier, um, and that reminded me. I kind of went down this. I've been going down this Joe Rogan rabbit hole, listening to clips on YouTube and
Oh,
stuff
he's
as I've
got
been,
some good podcasts.
and he touches upon transgender athletes in sports.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether you want to you know talk about that.
No, that's an interesting thing, I suppose, because um, does it give if someone does have more testosterone rather than what's the female equivalent?
Estrogen, I think.
Estrogen, yeah.
Estrogen,
And
yeah.
if someone has switched genders and then let's take for example Usain Bolt, and he decides to become a woman and then he beats everyone in the Olympics, is that fair? Because no offense to women, but men are generally stronger and faster.
I mean,
Uh,
if you look at the results from, let's say, the London Olympics,
yeah,
the women in the 100 meters would struggle to get to the final, let alone get placed.
yeah.
So, if not even the top athletes in the 100 meters, but someone who would regularly make it to the final
Mhm.
decided to transition, they would, you know, the guys can generally run the 100 meters, about a second quicker, give or take.
Well, yeah, I think. You look
So
at
no,
sort of
they'd be
women's
completely
football compared to
destroying their
men's football.
they'd completely destroy the opposition.
Well, yeah,
And
it would give
and
them.
then at this point, is it really fair on the female athletes who are born a female, you know trained as a female, only to get completely trashed by someone who's only recently become a woman? Is that
Well,
necessarily fair?
No, it's not really fair.
not fair. Not fair at all. We're built different. We're built differently.
Yeah. Let's say Mike Tyson gets a sex change and then starts doing women's boxing. He's gonna
It's
beat the
not
shit
fair.
out of everyone.
It's not fair.
Um,
If I go be an MMA fighter and I'm, identify myself as like a heavyweight man fighter, No, that's not going to happen. I'm a woman. I have to identify myself as in that category. It's not going to happen.
And please no
But
one mention to Mike
I can say,
Tyson.
oh, I actually identify myself as a man. I would like to be in the man category for UFC fighting or whatever.
Right, let me throw a question out of left field then. Should we have a new category in the Olympics that, like, rather than men's and women's sports, should there be a middle ground for people that
Gender?
transgender sports? Should there be a
No, I
transgender?
don't think I mean, yeah, okay, but you make your own TV show for that. Make your own Olympics. It shouldn't be in the Olympics that are already here.
Yeah.
Make your own Olympics. That's your own gender that you're inventing. And I'm sorry if that is rude, but this is something that's new. So make your own kind of transgender Olympics where it's,
But
if
should
you're
they then be
actually
excluded?
a man, then you are a woman in this. But if you're actually a woman, go be a woman and make your own Olympics. We have our own, but you can't. It makes it harder to judge people in the actual Olympics if we don't. If you're identifying yourself as a man, but you're saying, but you're actually a woman, we have to differentiate these things. If you're making this new title for yourself, you have to have your own
Olympics.
type of Olympics. I'm saying.
Okay, and I'd like to just go back and because Cassandra said something, and I actually agree with this statement. Like, it used to be, in order to transition physically, intensive counselling was a requirement, but because of kind of this sort of SJW world that we're now living in, that it's being eroded because there are people out there that say you should be able to wake up in the morning and go, you know what, I don't want to be a man anymore, I'm going to be a woman, or vice versa. And I think that is kind of almost a crazy world. A few people in the chat have said as well, it's kind of demoralizing and confusing to our children, which, I mean, as someone that's always felt like a man and has no desire to ever be a woman, maybe for a day, but like I'd want to become a full woman and just spend the day in front of a mirror. But other than that, I have no desire to be a woman. I'm quite happy being a man. I don't want periods and all.
There's a lot more to like being a woman or a man than just saying you want to be a woman or a man. You have to think about like the biological aspects of being a woman or a man. And people don't think about that, It's kind of disgusting, as you as a man, do you want to go through, having children, having a period
Not
one
really.
time? No, exactly.
No.
So it's just people, I identify as a woman. You know what? How about you go through what a woman actually does? But you're a man, you're going to get a fake uterus or cut your dick off. I don't know what the fuck happens. But you don't experience what a woman actually goes through.
If a man transitions to a woman, would they start having that menstrual cycle?
They would not go through a period. They would not know. You go through a period one time a month and get a cramp that I go through every time and get acne on my face because we have normal woman hormones and then I have a period one time a month. Like, no. If you're born a woman, you go through that.
And I'm gonna show my ignorance here. Someone who transitioned from being a male to a female, they couldn't give birth, could they? Or
no, you can't give birth if you're born a man and you want to be a woman. You know what? Good luck trying to have a child, or good luck trying to have a period once a month. I will give you that luck. Have fun trying to do that. If that's what you really would like to do, having a period once a month and then giving birth to a child, if you really, really, really want to be a woman and look like a woman, have nice long hair, whatever the fuck you feel like being a woman is, then good luck. I give you all the luck. Have fun trying to do that.
Um, I mean,
And then
so I
I would
suppose
say the same thing vice versa. If someone were to, if I wanted to be a man, they could say that to me, you know?
yeah.
Give me all the testosterone that I need to be a man.
Wait, if a woman becomes a man, could they impregnate a woman?
No, because
No.
do you think that I could literally get rid of my uterus, put a man's sexual whatever penis, whatever
A man's
it is,
sexual penis.
no, what's it called? Like I could not grow um a man's what's it called? I don't know what the name is, but
Urethra.
I couldn't grow a dick and like all the man's like insides or whatever to like make a girl pregnant. Like it's just not possible.
No, no. And yeah, we're not judging anyone here. We're just trying to make sense of a topsy turvy world of something that we don't.
I'm not judging at all, but I think that I have actually seen some tweets from men that have wanted to become women who are saying, like I identify as a woman, so you shouldn't judge me, but I am judging you because you're not going through what actual women go through. You don't go through periods once a month. You don't have children.
I mean, even though I'm, part of the LGBT community, I still find the whole trans thing very confusing.
Mm.
It is confusing.
And even though I'm, part of the community, I still don't really fully get it. And I know that sounds ignorant on my part, but
I think we're all fairly ignorant in regards to this topic. Maybe we've picked a topic that might be a bit too difficult for us to discuss because I don't think any of us are experts on it.
I think that we all understand it, but there's some extent that people take it to some extent that shouldn't. It's not there yet. You know what I mean? Like if you're identifying as something that's okay, but you can't really identify as a certain gender if you haven't really gone through what that gender has gone through.
It just seems like almost insanity to me, though, that I could wake up tomorrow and go, do you know what? I don't want you to call me a man anymore. I want to be referred to as they and them. And is that not a world where society's kind of bent too far to people's whims? And like I get it, like transitioning from one to the other, that's your choice. If you feel you should be the other, I get that. But the fact that we now have something that's in between, I can't get my head around it, to be completely honest.
my view, and I might come off as a bit crass here. No, I put it in the chat earlier just before I came on, but if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then
It's a
I mean, I mean, using that analogy, if it, if someone looks like a guy, I'll refer to them as a guy.
Well, yeah, so would I.
If someone has long hair and looks like a woman, then that could potentially get me into trouble if I accidentally use the wrong pronouns.
Well, I think it's all about how people take things as well. It's a topic I discussed a while ago, and it's like offense itself is a choice as to whether you take it. Now, you could meet someone, and they might be the most laid back, coolest person you've ever met, who is transgender, and you might make the mistake, and they'll go, "Well, that's all right, that's something I've just had to get used to." It's when people start going, "Oh my God, I can't believe you've referred to me as the wrong gender. Like you should be ashamed of yourself." Like, well, sorry, I think I'm the oldest in this chat between the three of us here. But this was not a thing when I was a kid growing up in the 80s. And like so for me it is very confusing. Like the whole landscape of the world has changed to such an extent that um, people used to say it almost tongue-in-cheek or ironically, like it's political correctness gone mad, but it really is these days. Like you honestly can't say anything to anyone because they might turn around and bite your head off, and they're always in the right because you're always the one that's made the faux pas. And you can't say, oh, I'm sorry or whatever. Um, I suppose, but in a way, we're kind of advocating more education on these subjects, and I don't know. Like, I just want things to be clear, not have to worry about who I'm going to offend.
So do I, Adam. Trust me.
Yeah.
I do too. Like 100%. I just want things to be clear, but like it's hard for me to understand people with a different set of mind where I'm not really totally educated with how their mindset is.
Let me put a scenario forward. This is probably more for how, but let's say you meet a beautiful woman and you take her home, and like you have a great date and you take her home and then you get her underwear off and she's got a big dick. And you say, right, well, I don't want to sleep with you because I'm not, well, I guess Hal might enjoy that, but sorry, Hal, no offense.
I mean, I think I'm a slightly different case to both of you, seeing as, I like.
Hey, you know what, Miss Rebel Jewel just said we are no longer allowed to have an independent thought. That's how I feel right now because I'm honestly scared of saying my own thought because I don't want to be rude to anybody.
But come back to my scenario. Let's say it's me, right? And I meet an attractive woman and I take her home. And as far as I'm aware, she's a woman. And then she takes her clothes off and she's got a cock. And I'm like, right, well, I don't want this anymore because I'm not into that. I'm the one that's going to be in the wrong in this day and age we live in.
Because you're saying, okay, you're a woman, but you have a cock, but you're identifying as a woman. So that makes me the wrong person.
That makes me bad. That makes me the bad person because they'll be like, well, you should be open to it. You found me attractive before you knew I had a penis. It's like, yeah, but
is totally fucking stupid.
I mean, personally, I would like, just a bit of disclosure before.
Exactly.
I take their clothes off. But I mean, I've never found myself in that particular situation yet.
Yeah.
If you're identifying as a woman,
right, but
like if I were to identify as a woman and then I turned out to have a cock, I would say like, I identify as a woman, but if you were to like put your hands down my pants, you're gonna find something a little bit more than that, and it's gonna out to be like a banana-sized thing. So.
I think Matitude has the right attitude as well here because he said like they have been questioning their gender for a while, but he hates. Sorry, I keep referring you. They hate how people get angry if you don't want to date them for being transsexual. Now I think that's a choice. Some people are probably more attracted to transsexuals. Maybe some people it might be the perfect mixture. I mean, people fly out to Thailand just so that they can go with like exotic women with penises, and that's fine. But the
question is, do you let people know that you're trans?
Personally, I think you have to be upfront with that. If it comes to the dating world, I think it's unfair to expect someone to go, well, that's okay.
100%, you have to tell someone that you're trans. You cannot just spring that on them when you meet them. You literally have to tell them that you're trans. That's my opinion. It's 2019. You have to tell them if you're. Okay, unless you have it in your dating website or whatever, if you're on like a dating website and it says I'm trans, then okay. But if you're going to like meet someone, then you say like I'm a trans, I'm a woman, but I identify myself as a man or whatever, or I'm a woman, but I actually have a dick. Then you have to make that known.
Because most men, I would say, the majority of men don't want to be surprised like that.
Women don't want to be surprised either.
No,
Like if
true.
it's a guy, if
I mean, I wouldn't.
say for one, if I were to go on a date with a guy who actually has a vagina, it's like I don't know what to do with a vagina. I've never been with a vagina before, so it's like I don't know what to do with that.
Neither does Adam.
Stop.
You're probably right.
I'm joking.
The 38-year-old virgin. No, no. I think there's actually a couple of people in here that have transitioned or are thinking of transitioned, and they seem to have the right attitude. But then you probably wouldn't subscribe to my channel if you didn't, and you weren't open-minded about it. And to take offence about 3 people who aren't transsexual trying to discuss something they don't fully understand, it would be a bit silly. And Cassandra said Cassandra actually said a great point earlier as well, and has said now, and I had no clue that you fully transitioned. But like I said before, if you felt like you should be the other gender, then that's absolutely your choice to do so. Howard Matt's asked Howard in Spain how are transgender individuals tolerated. Now Spain, it's a difficult one because Spain isn't as liberal. It might sound crazy to say because you might all think of all sunny Spain and everyone in bikinis and stuff, but Spain isn't the same as the UK. Like when I worked in London or the towns just surrounding London, when I went to work in the morning, and I'm kind of going a bit off topic, but to try and make a point here, you would see people of every single race going into work. I worked in offices, and we have African people, we have Asian people, like all the races, and everyone has equal opportunities. Where in Spain, I don't think they've kind of reached the same point yet. If you walk down like Glorias or one of the business districts in the morning in Barcelona, you'll see lots of people in suits and ties or women in business clothes, but they're all white.
Or Spanish.
Yeah, they're all white. But well, no, I could get a job because I'm European and white, as sad as it is to say. But Spain is not as progressive as the UK has been over the last few years. And maybe that's because the UK suffered a lot more immigration, or maybe Spain still holds some kind of resentment after the Moors and everything else that happened here. I can't really explain that. But Spain is not as progressive as the UK. So I would say Sorry.
So after the Second World War, there was a massive shortage of workers in the UK. And so, obviously there was a bit about the windless generation a while back in the news. And, the windless generation was all of these people coming in from, the former colonies in the Caribbean and India and Bangladesh and all of those places. Yeah. And, it's kind of like being a generational thing, for all of us, growing up and seeing people from different creeds and colours.
Yeah, no, it's very normal now in the UK to.
Whereas I don't think Spain really experienced that.
No, and it does tend to.
They only colonised South America, whereas the UK colonised, Africa and
India,
Asia.
Yeah.
In the Indian subcontinent and parts of China.
Well, was it? I watched the documentary quite a long time ago about. Was it? I'm not sure if it was if it was something to do with the East India Tea Company or if it was something to do with building the railroads. But when the people from the UK went out to India, they were encouraged to find an Indian wife and create mixed race families. Would I say it's the same with homosexuality in Spain? Probably not, actually. Matt, no. In fact, one thing this is going to make me sound like a right pervert, but one thing I quite like about walking through Barcelona city centre is you often see lesbian couples, and they're often very attractive. So no, I think homosexuality is far more accepted within Spain than perhaps other races are.
I mean, a lot of you might not know this, but I did an Erasmus course last year in Valencia.
Yeah.
And, I went to admittedly very shitty university out in Valencia, but, one of the guys in my class, he was openly very gay.
Mm-hmm.
And he always posts on Facebook, all of these, pro gay rights, things.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I don't have anything against for relatively obvious reasons. But he just seemed a lot more accepted than, say, other races. I mean,
Yeah.
so as someone who would be of a different race. I mean, this guy was, European, whereas someone, who wasn't may not have had the same.
No, no.
Diff-
I think, but the difference here is Spain, compared to the UK, although the UK may be a lot more progressive when it comes to integration of races and things. Spain is a country that's probably a lot more sexual than the UK. The UK, we're very reserved and stiff upper lip and all that, whereas in Spain, and I think partially it's to do with the clement weather and the fact that people, in the UK, we maybe get a couple of weeks of good sunshine a year, and even then, most of the people in the UK don't live that near a beach, whereas Spain is full of beaches and lakes and beautiful places to go, and so people want to take their clothes off, and I think kids become, sounds bad, but I think people become sexualized a lot earlier in Spain. Like, in fact, in Spain, just up until, what was it, 5, 8 years ago, the age of consent was the age of consent was, I think, 14, but the other person had to be within 3 years. But with the parents' permission, you could marry a 13-year-old in Spain. I mean, Lorne Armstrong would have loved it here. However, they've changed that because a 30-year-old man married a 13-year-old and murdered her like a year after they got married or something. So they've now changed that law. And
I thought it was in France, but I could be mistaken.
no, it's Spain. It was. I did my research on this. Oh, France is just as bad as well. They'll fuck anything.
Yeah. But they're the French, so.
Yeah, exactly. Bloody. I was going to say something and it was a joke, and then I don't know if it was going to be taken as a joke, so I stopped myself. So yeah, I think sexuality is a lot, whatever sexuality is a lot more accepted in Spain, but they're not as integrated when it comes to having other kind of races here. There's a lot of Moroccan immigrants, and I have to say, and it might sound quite bad, but the kids, like the teenagers, they don't do themselves any favors. Oh, beautiful disaster! I was just going to say bloody garlic munchers, but I didn't want people to take that seriously. But I don't know about that, Matt. I don't think incest is legal anywhere, is it? I mean, how do you mean? Do you mean like with direct family members and stuff? Because I think even in the UK you can marry like a second cousin. What do I think about incest? Not much, to be honest. It's not a topic I have had I've had much cause to think about.
I have a question. They can't see me on video right now.
No one can see any of us.
Okay.
No. Why?
Cool.
It's us three.
Yeah.
Alright.
So it's just you that have to put up with my ugly mug.
I mean, you can put me on video if you want.
No, I'm saving that for my main channel so that I get more views and subscribers. Yes.
Don't do that with me or just lose subscribers.
Yeah. Maybe I'd be into incest if my family wasn't so ugly. That was a joke, by the way.
I was just wondering.
Well, it would explain a lot, wouldn't it?
Shut up.
You love my jokes.
It's really not like that, like a brother and no, that can't be right, because that leads to all sorts of like deformities and stuff, like six-fingered children and things like that, and babies with like learning difficulties and things.
Here's Linda Boudreaux. I personally don't care if you're hetero, bi, gay, or tri. It only becomes my business if I'm sleeping with you. I don't grill my friends about their sex lives. I have friends that can't. Makes sense.
Yeah. Who's got the stream on in the background?
Not me.
Not me.
There's definitely an echo coming from somewhere.
That's That was me.
Right.
Oops.
Consent. Wow.
Adam,
Spain
I
have
think I'm in the UK.
to a first cousin. Okay.
It is to a first cousin.
Okay, so first cousin, still a bit weird, but apparently, are you literally talking like mothers, sons, fathers, daughters, brothers, sisters here? That's fucked. That's ridiculous. Like, I mean, I know because I've done some research that it's like the most Googled porn search term, but it's what they call faux cest. It's like not, they're pretending in the videos, but like they're actually doing it.
Research, sure.
It's
They're
honest.
actually doing what? What?
Apparently, in Spain, Russia, and to an extent in Portugal, incest is legal.
No, it's not.
Well, this is what they're telling us in the chat. I'm gonna have to do my own googling
No,
now.
it's not. No way.
Like,
They're kidding you. They're trolling you.
they try. No, really, I'm gonna have to Google it myself. That's what it
You're
says
being
on Wikipedia. I mean, I didn't know that at
all
all.
three of us are being trolled.
Yeah, you're just winding us all up. That's crazy.
Yeah, all three of us are being trolled.
Right, I'm gonna Wikipedia it myself. In fact, I'll never trust Wikipedia. I'm at Google. I just don't want this in my search history. I've got to put it in though.
Search it.
Legal in Spain. Span. The law does not cover sexual intercourse with more distant relatives, such as an uncle, niece, nephew, and cousin. It only addresses male on female or female on male sexual intercourse. It appears that consensual same-sex incest is not illegal. So this is probably, I don't know if anyone remembers it, but Jeremy Irons was on a TV interview in Australia a few years back, and he started complaining, and I thought he's a fucking madman. Now, Jeremy Irons actually used to live very near where I grew up in Oxfordshire, and well, not met him, I've been in the same room as him at an auction, and I was like, that's cool, he's been in some good films, Die Hard, he's been in Danny, the Champion of the World, but he did this interview, and he's talking to the guy, and he's saying, well, like, a father could marry his son to avoid inheritance tax laws, and what he was saying would have made sense in the UK. Sorry, not in the UK, in Spain, but yeah, not in the UK or Australia. That's mental. I mean, we've gone a bit off topic. I didn't know that. That's probably a topic for a whole other stream another day. But it's saying same-sex incest is not illegal. So like a father and a son, but apparently not a mother and a son or a brother and a sister, but two brothers or two sisters. That's okay. That's mental.
It shouldn't be.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't really know what to say about that. I'm a bit shocked, to be honest.
I'm a bit shocked.
Terry, though, the Sun is full of... I actually despise the Sun newspaper, so I don't know what... They'll say anything to get a rise out of people. Yeah. Like, the Sun put that... I think last time I read the Sun was on my flight back from the UK, and it made me really, really angry. It's got to be true. Look at the royal families. That's proof of incestuous family lines are like Georgia Pine, straight up with hardly any branches. Well, yeah, I guess that's because the royal families, they didn't want their wealth leaving the family, was it though? So they were always kind of encouraged to marry a cousin or someone who was within kind of the same bloodline.
Well, if you look at the Habsburgs, they all had haemophilia, so...
Sorry, what's haemophilia?
I mean, if you look at Habsburgs, which is a European royal family...
Right.
So they all had haemophilia.
Isn't that when you, like, the thing where if you get hit, you can die from it? Like,
your blood doesn't clot.
Yeah.
And, that, if, I think it's, it can be passed on. I mean, I'm not a scientist, although I love a couple, but, I mean, that's a sign that,
Do you get them to experiment down there?
Oh my god. You psycho. That is sick.
I was quoting Lorne, wasn't I?
Don't be a douche.
This is Adam. He's always a douche.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was literally a douche 24/7.
Yeah, well. Yeah, no, Terry, the Sun I actually have a big resentment against because they had a tiny we talked about it on a stream quite recently, but yeah, I picked up a free copy of it when I was in the airport on the way back from the UK a few weeks ago. And there was a tiny paragraph in it that said, 11-year-old boy raped 6-year-old sister after playing Grand Theft Auto. And that was all there was to it. And I was like, you shit cunts. Sorry, excuse my language. But I was like, what an absolute piece of fucking sensationalist journalism. And they literally gave it a tiny column, and it was just to piss people off because Grand Theft Auto is an over 18 game, and there's nothing in it that encourages rape. Okay, yes, you can get a prostitute and you can kill her afterwards, but stop blaming things on music and computer games and stuff, and start looking at yourselves, parents. If your kids are doing fucked up things, that's because you haven't brought them up properly. So yeah, I actually hate the Sun newspaper with something of a passion.
Well, lots of these newspapers, like the Sun, they're essentially clickbait in newspaper form.
Yeah, it's just fish and chip paper clickbait.
Don't insult fish and chips like that.
They don't anymore because the ink. Yeah, but it used to taste better with a bit of ink in it.
I mean, no, don't insult proper fish and chips.
Oh, right, sorry.
Newspapers like the Sun.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to wrap fish and chips in newspaper anymore because of people getting ink poisoning.
You guys are literally so British, it makes me sick.
I'm sorry, I live in Plymouth, so
Wait,
I have strong opinions about fish and chips.
Right, Plymouth is like the most incestuous place in the world, isn't it?
No, that's the Isle of Wight you're thinking of.
Oh, wait, my grandmother on my father's side was from the Isle of Wight, thank you.
That explains a lot, then.
What's this? People are still blaming video games.
Yeah, Malitude. It's insane. No, not people are. The Sun newspaper are, because it's the worst newspaper you could ever possibly read. The Sun, along with at least the
no.
At least the Daily Mail, everyone knows, is horrible.
I don't give a shit what people are saying. Video games are not causing violence. No. This is social media in general. It's not video games. I played video games when I was in 10 years old. I'm not here killing people. No, it's not video games. I had brothers. I grew up with two brothers who played Call of Duty. We all played these.
I play Red Dead Redemption every day. I go and shoot people in Red Dead Redemption. It doesn't make me want to run outside with a gun and start killing people.
This has nothing to do with video games. Nothing to do with video games. I grew up with video games. My brothers grew up with video games. It has nothing to do with video games.
All right, well, you're taking it like a personal attack now, and it's only the Sun newspaper that said this, and the general consensus is most people in the chat are agreeing with us.
No, but it makes me angry because a lot of people that I know are saying, I've heard in my, the area that I live in, they're saying, kids these days, they take it out, they're getting all these issues from video games, but it's not true.
No.
They've been saying that for years, though.
Yeah, they wanted to blame stuff on Eminem.
So what's the actual root of the issue? It's not video games.
No, it's bad parenting. Yeah, it's bad parenting. No,
it's not just bad parenting. There's another issue towards this as well. It's not just video games. It's social media. It's friends. It's the way that our world is turning into.
You think social media encourages violent behavior?
Social media is becoming one of the major influencers in us becoming addicted to Instagram and Twitter and all this stuff. We're taking ourselves away from the actual real life problems and stuff because of social media. But it's the same as video games. We stay at home. We not
yeah.
us, but I mean kids. They stay at home. They play video games. They don't have interaction that I used to have when I was younger, and like go out and play with our friends and stuff, and play these games. Like it's
Go kick a football around in the park.
Oh yeah, no, I mean getting off topic here quite a
not
lot,
just
but
video games. It's not just video games. It's not just like Instagram, so Facebook, whatever. They're just so consumed with like online things. They don't even want to go outside and play with their friends.
oh yeah, no, of course, social media is destroying our ability.
With people as well.
Exactly.
Social media is destroying our ability to communicate with others properly.
Yeah, but that's what we're coming to.
Yeah, I know, it's sad.
Now.
But we're getting into a topic that Andy and I discussed on the last stream now, so we've kind of gone over this and like how it can be both a good and a bad thing.
It's bad.
But we've been going for like an hour and 10 minutes, guys. I think we've kind of moved quite far away from our original topic. Any final closing thoughts on gender fluidity?
Oh yeah. Well, if you're a guy, then you're a guy. If you're a girl, then you're a girl. If you have any issues, then go talk to a therapist.
Okay.
I mean, if you're a guy that wants to be a girl and you're in the dating world, at least give me a heads up first.
But how? Let me ask you a question. How, as someone who is bisexual, would it bother you if you met a beautiful woman with a dick or a hot man with a vagina? Wouldn't you be like, oh, best of both worlds?
I mean, unless, I was, told early on that, oh yeah, if I was, seeing a guy and I was like, oh yeah, I was born a woman, but, don't have long hair, I don't have, boobs, and I've got a vagina instead of a dick, then, at least it might not bother me, but at the same time, just give me a heads up so I'm not taken completely off guard.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. But yeah, would you be open to dating a transgender or someone who's in the middle of transitioning, not someone who has actually transitioned?
I mean, so long as they're transitioning fully and they've, properly made up their mind that, yes, I was born, I don't know, a woman, and yes, I want to become a man, then I wouldn't mind per se, because, I'd still be getting, the end product of, a guy or a girl, depending on.
But you wouldn't date, say, for example, a Thai ladyboy, a very good-looking woman that has a penis, that has no intention of getting rid of her penis?
Well, I mean, I've never, come across that situation yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but, I'm of the mindset of, I'll cross that bridge if I get to it.
Okay, fair enough. Good way to look at it. Open-minded.
I mean, for people in the chat, I do not speak for everyone who's bisexual whatsoever. I'm just speaking, in terms of myself.
Yeah, no, of course, we're aware of that. Everyone has different preferences and different opinions.
The 21-year-old bisexual guy from the South Coast, that's just what.
Well, no, I was asking for your opinion. I didn't want you. I don't expect you to represent bisexuals across the world.
No.
I'm happy that you're being honest with how you feel. That makes me happy.
I mean, I'm just full disclosure. I am still relatively new to the whole community.
Yeah.
I've only recently, properly started coming out, and.
But I like that you're open I like that you're open to talking about it, though, and you're not being closed off.
Do you have a preference, Hal, though? Like, would you when you've dreamt about your future partner, has it been more often a woman or a man? This is just out of my own curiosity now.
Yeah, personally for me, it's been more women. But, if the right guy did come along, I wouldn't say no.
Well, if Tom Hardy
You know,
came along, I'm not even bi, but if Tom Hardy made a move, I probably wouldn't mind.
Man crush out there, so.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
But, as I was about to say, I'm still, this is the first time I've, properly come out and, said I'm bisexual on the internet.
Oh wow! Well, it's an honour that you've done it. I chose to do it on my stream. Just I must point out though, because I may have made myself sound a bit odd there. I don't. If I was actually faced with a cock, even if it was Tom Hardy, I don't think I could really go through with it.
Oh, I would.
Oh, I know you would. Like, I know he's nice to look at, but I wouldn't have a wank over him.
No comment.
Of course. Anyway, and on that note, guys, I think we're going to say good night. Yeah, thanks for your bravery, Hal, and thanks for joining me, Ivana.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks everyone in the chat. I hope we've not got too many people's backs up during this or upset.
I didn't offend anybody. I didn't mean to offend anybody, but.
Yeah, we're not. I think most people are aware the intent was never offence, and I think it's really cool to know there's a couple of people, like transgender people, who have listened to the stream and have put very positive feedback in the comments. So it's great that this hasn't been taken like as oh, you're all a bunch of bigots for trying to discuss something that you don't really understand. So and that's what we like to do on this channel, have sort of open, honest and frank discussions about things, and maybe we don't fully understand them. We're just trying to make sense of this mental world that we're living in. I hope I haven't upset anyone by using the word mental there, but yeah, there you go. Anyway, and on that note, guys, yeah, so thanks so much for joining us. Do look after yourselves, be good to people, respect each other. That's the most important thing. Respect people.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Think with my dick?
You told me you didn't have a dick.
I don't have.
You're gonna have to rethink things now. Anyway, yeah, thanks so much, guys, for joining us. Feel free to leave any follow-up comments afterwards, and I'll look forward to reading those. Take care, everyone, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.